done in the future. It's a real statement in itself. Okay, so now we move to our third speaker, and then we'll have time for questions afterwards. So begin thinking about some of your questions so that when we wrap up after Mike, that we'll be able to to raise some interesting dilemmas, things that are very important and need to be done. So on life-saving information and disaster preparedness, we welcome to the microphone Mike Adams from the Rapid Response Unit, HCR in the United Kingdom.
Great, thanks Brian. And I told Brian, you won't have any trouble with people falling asleep when Mr. Parnihati is the first speaker after lunch. It is impossible. Well done.
Are you suggesting it's time to go to sleep now?
I knew that Parney would get us all warmed up after our lunch break, so well done. So I want to say thank you to the ABU and organizers, particularly VJ, who organizes this program, for inviting me to speak. Thank you to those who participated in the workshop on the first day in our disaster response workshop. Thank you for those who joined and participated very actively in suggesting ideas and your giving your contribution. And I think that Vijay was really right that she knew that this topic was important here, because this is the first time that Radio Asia comes to Indonesia. And really, this is a place where disaster response radio is important. And for me, the story started for me here in Indonesia at the time of the tsunami. And I will tell you my story as we go through here. But for many years I've been a broadcast engineer, radio engineer for 25 years in the industry. But it was 7 years ago, the tsunami, which changed the direction of my career and brought me into work in using radio in disaster response. We've heard a lot about the radio penetration in the market, internet penetration, where 3G is getting and where you can get Wi-Fi in your car and everything. And this is all great until everything fails. This is fine until everything shuts down, until we lose infrastructure through disaster. And here in this group, we have people from the most risk-prone areas in Asia. If you live in one of these 6 countries, you're in Southeast Asia's red zone. If you live in Indonesia, you live in the red zone. Danger of disaster. If you live in the Philippines, it is the top Southeast Asian country in the red zone for risk of disaster. Cambodia, very high in the list for flooding annually. Vietnam, very high in the red zone for the list of flooding. And Japan, and the top 6 is finished by Myanmar. We have representatives from all of these countries here today. If you live in one of those 6 countries, you're clearly in the red zone. Some of these other countries, you know you're at disaster risk, even if you don't actually rate in the UN risk report. You know if you are prone to disaster in your country. So in 2004, this was the event that changed the direction of my career. When the tsunami struck 7 years ago, right here in Indonesia, I traveled into the most affected area, into Banda Aceh, and helped set up an emergency radio station to get information to the public, to the affected community. And as HCR got involved in helping broadcasters use radio in disaster response, I saw how powerful radio is as a tool to help people rebuild their lives.